Another organelle that we have in both plant and animal eukaryotic cells is the mitochondria. And the mitochondria is really important for it makes energy for the cell, both again, plants and animal cells. And it's divided into several layers. It has an outer membrane and an inner membrane. And between the inner and the outer membrane is a space or a compartment, as well as within the inner membrane, there is a compartment. And all of these divisions or compartments enable the organelle to properly function to produce ATP. We'll go through more detail of the structure of the mitochondria with week 3. This is an electron micrographic view of a mitochondria where you can see all of these inner lines are the inner membrane. And this out here would be our rough endoplasmic reticulum. Here's the context of the mitochondria and its location, approximate location inside of a eukaryotic animal cell. Now, unlike animal cells, plant cells have chloroplast unlike animal cells. Animal cells do not have chloroplast because animal cells do not undergo photosynthesis. And chloroplasts are similar in structure to mitochondria, although there are some slight nuances or differences. And these chloroplasts contain chlorophyll, which are the pigmented molecules that enable the cell to take the energy from light and fix carbon from carbon dioxide into a usable form by the plant. This image doesn't really do a fair comparison to the sizes of chloroplasts and mitochondria. Chloroplasts are quite a bit bigger than the mitochondria, although of course they are both microscopic. And in a plant cell, you have both chloroplast as well as mitochondria. Again, like I said, the structure of the chloroplast is similar to a mitochondria. You have an outer and an inner membrane. But then the inner membrane is folded into flattened discs, and it is those flattened discs that contain the pigments responsible for the first part of photosynthesis, which again we'll discuss in week 3. Here's an electron micrographic image of a chloroplast. Some other cellular features common to both eukaryotic plant and eukaryotic animal cells is the cytoskeleton. And the cytoskeleton, as it sounds, is a skeleton of a cell, cyto for cell. And there's 3 basic components to the cytoskeleton: microtubules, microfilaments, and intermediate filaments. And these filaments work collectively to assist the cell in moving substances both around the cell and within the cell. Here's an example of 2 forms of movement. In picture A, we see a flagellum of a human sperm. So that flagellum enables the sperm to swim to the egg, and the large orange structure in the corner is the egg cell. And then in image B, we see an amoeba, which is a eukaryotic unicellular organism, and it has foot-like projections called pseudopods that enable it to move. And in this case, it's surrounding and ready to engulf a single-celled green algae. Now, cells, although they can exist alone in a multicellular organism, which is an organism made up of multiple cells, they need to communicate with each other. And the primary mode of communication, or junction, cell-to-cell junction inside of plants, are called plasmodesmata. And these are basically channels, as you can see in this picture, that allow communication from one cell to an adjacent cell. In animal cells, you also have cell-to-cell junctions. And some of these cell-to-cell junctions are seen here on the left, tight junctions. And tight junctions, just like they sound, they're very tight. So they help hold cells together into tissue layers, and they prevent fluids from moving between the layers. So imagine if you had bricks forming a wall and the mortar, which were the tight junctions, wasn't operating efficiently, you'd get leaks between those bricks. We don't want leaks between our cells. Our tight junctions prevent those leaks from occurring. To the right, we can see what are known as gap junctions. And gap junctions are really important in forming channels that connect the cytoplasm of one cell to an adjacent cell. And a good example of an organ where gap junctions are really, really important is in your heart, because they basically enable really smooth communication between one cardiac muscle cell and the next. And then the third example of junction that we see here in animal cells are adhering junctions. And basically, these are kind of like snaps that help anchor cells together. So imagine you have a tissue layer of cells that has a lot of motion occurring in that layer, and you want to hold the cells together and prevent them from like separating. Those would be your adhering junctions. Here's a comparison side by side of a plant cell and an animal cell. Again, recall these are both eukaryotic cells. They both have a nucleus and they both have membrane-bound organelles. On page 72 of your text, there is an excellent table which summarizes different cellular components, what those different cellular components do, and where they are found. Are they found in eukaryotic cells? Are they found in prokaryotic cells, which would be your bacterial cells, or are they found in both? I hope that this presentation has been helpful. This concludes our discussion of Chapter 4, and I look forward to having you attend Week 3.